We've all been in that situation, meeting someone new or reconnecting with someone you barely know. The usual greeting follows. Hey, how's it going? Then comes the classic questions. What do you do for a living? Or, which team do you work with? And then, after the usual back and forth, the dreaded awkward silence kicks in. It's happened to me countless times, not just at work, but at weddings, family gatherings, or even random chats at a bar. But imagine if you could just talk to anyone, anytime, and never run out of things to say. It sounds like a dream, right? The truth is, most of us experience some level of social anxiety, and that's often what causes the awkwardness. But here's the thing, everyone's at a different point with it. I, personally, graduated to the more advanced levels of social awkwardness without any cheat codes. And over time, I found my own tricks to make conversations smoother, less awkward, and much more enjoyable. When I'm around people I'm comfortable with, I'm completely different. So I asked myself, why is that? Why do I behave like a different person depending on who I'm talking to? What I realized was simple. It's not that I have multiple personalities or a confidence issue, it's more about lacking a particular skill. I just hadn't yet mastered the art of small talk. And you know what? Speaking with people is a skill, just like learning an instrument or writing a song. It takes practice, but you can get better. After lots of trial and error, and watching people who were better at this than I was, I learned there are only 3 simple things you need to master if you want to talk to anyone, anywhere, without running out of things to say. And the best part? You can start using them today. Let's say someone tells you, I'm going to play golf this weekend. You've got 2 choices here. You can either say, oh, cool, and then stare at the ceiling awkwardly, waiting for the silence to end, or you can ask a follow-up question. You could ask, where do you usually play? Or, how long have you been playing golf? These questions will open the door to more conversation. You might even ask, do you play competitively? Or, are you part of a golf club? Now, let's be real, you probably don't care about golf at all. But by asking those questions, you're showing that you're interested in the person, and more importantly, you're keeping the conversation going. You're in control because you're asking the right questions. And when you think about it, a conversation is really just a series of questions and answers. The person who asks the most questions is often the one leading the conversation. This leads me to the second method, listening. There's a common myth that the more you speak, the better you are at conversing. But in reality, to improve your communication, you actually need to listen more, really listen. That means focusing entirely on the person you're talking to and not thinking about what you're going to say next. It's easy for our minds to wander, but when we do that, we end up saying things that don't quite match what the other person just said, which only adds to the awkwardness. When you listen carefully, you're able to ask thoughtful follow-up questions that steer the conversation in a more natural direction. As the saying goes, most people listen with the intent to respond, not to understand. Don't be that person. Be the one who listens to learn, not just to reply. And now, here's the final method. Finding common ground. We all feel more comfortable with people who share similar interests or experiences. Sometimes, it's really obvious. Maybe you both love golf. Other times, it takes a little digging. But if you keep asking the right questions, eventually, you'll find something you both have in common. And once that happens, the conversation will flow on its own. Of course, there will be moments where the conversation doesn't go anywhere. Sometimes you'll hit an awkward silence, but that's okay. Silence doesn't have to be scary. It's just silence, and it'll pass. Just sit with it for a bit and move on when it feels right. But if you stick to these 3 methods, asking the right questions, actively listening, and finding common ground, more often than not, you'll find yourself talking to anyone without ever worrying about running out of things to say. You've got this. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more awesome content on love and relationships, and share this with your friends who might need a little help in the flirting department. Catch you in the next one. Thanks. Until then, do subscribe our channel Inspiring Ark for more amazing content.